And we are back here on the Patriots No Huddle podcast. Derek Havens, Steve Balestrieri, Mike Debate, all brought to you by PatsFans.com. Really excited about this episode, guys. We're talking about the 2025 NFL Draft Day 2 recap, rounds 2 and 3. Patriots had 3 selections that we'll be breaking down ad nauseum, getting our reactions to the the second round and third round, and then as well as one or two other probably miscellaneous topics that I'm sure we'll hit throughout the day. Before we do anything, Steve, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. That was an interesting day 2 for the Patriots. I thought they had a really good night, and I love the picks that they're making so far. So this is they're off to a really, really good start, in my opinion.
Yeah, so for anyone joining us live, by the way, please do subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Patriots No Huddle. If you can also, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could like, share, leave us a review, it keeps us high in those rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Mike, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. It's been an interesting 24 to 48 hours for the New England Patriots.
Absolutely.
I know the fan base is excited. They absolutely should be. And if you're locked into Patriots No Huddle today, you're going to understand exactly what we mean. We're going to run down each of these picks for you. And gentlemen, it's an honor to share the microphone with you, especially on a draft weekend like this.
It's a holiday.
But Mike, you got to say it. How you opened all your old shows. You got to say it, man.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful. I miss saying that, Steve. I really and truly do. And I miss my Foxborough
you have to
faithful.
say that every time now.
And, bottom line, I've been embraced by so many of you, and I've gotten so many great direct messages and messages of encouragement and people saying that they miss us and, they miss our, time on Locked On. And now they're being, proud subscribers, proud listeners to Patriots No Huddle. And I think that it really gives us the absolute best that we can possibly hope for. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to a new beginning here.
So before we get into the Patriots selections, guys, I just kind of want to get, and Steve, I'll go to you first. I want to kind of get your any kind of reaction to just from a broad standpoint, round 2, 3 last night. Any thoughts or anything that you want to share?
Well, there was a lot more movement, I thought, last night. Patriots traded back twice.
Yeah.
I was starting to get a little worried there because I'm like, hey, let's not go to 105 now. They went from 77 to 85 to 95. I'm like, hey, okay, that's enough.
And for a while there, they actually had the Patriots at 80, and I'm like scrolling through my phone looking for like news that they traded back up, and I was like, I'm sitting there on the edge of my seat, like, well, what did they just do? They just moved back 10 spots, and then they moved up 5, but it was just a mistake. So
yeah, but overall, I thought it was another really good night for all these teams involved. Once again, there wasn't a whole lot of head scratching picks. I thought, I'm watching as it unfolds, and I'm thinking to myself when everyone picks, that's a good guy there. That's a good guy there.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that there would have been, and there was some pushback from the Patriots fans about, yeah, and we've grown to expect that, right? But there was some pushback about the number 38 pick, but we'll get to him, and I just thought it was brilliant. You and I have been talking about that for 2 months, so.
Yeah, breaking news, guys. I was right again. I thought the TreVeyon Henderson pick was something that I quite literally have been talking about for like 6 weeks because I just saw the fit in McDaniel's offense so much. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Before we start that, Mike, any reaction as from a broad standpoint again of round 2 and 3?
Yeah, again, it was a big night. It was a big night for Eliot Wolf in the Patriots front office. It was a big night for Mike Vrabel. These guys have been saying all along, we're going to attack this offseason with aggression. We're going to get aggressive on the field. They're getting players that are going to allow them to do that. And really, I think who had the biggest night last night? Quarterback Drake Maye. I mean, the picks that the Patriots made really have Drake
Great take.
front and center, and they really do have him as the centerpiece, and they're investing around their young hot commodity. And let's face it, he is their most valuable commodity. They have 3 players that with the right tutelage could develop into starters. And that's very big to say when you can walk away from day 2 with potential starters at every position you drafted. You know you're doing something right. TreVeyon Henderson, Derek, you hit it right on the head. And you've been saying this for quite a while. That dual threat capability, third down, this is exactly where he's going to shine in this offense. And I can't wait to see what TreVeyon does under the tutelage of Josh McDaniels. Kyle Williams, I know a lot of people are concerned with the drops, 7.4% drop percentage last season. He's got to shore that up. But when you look at what this kid can do in the open field, his ability to separate from his defender, that start and stop quick step that he's got that allows him to get defenders to miss when they're trying to make a tackle. I mean, he's got one of the best in the league, and this kid is going to showcase that. And I think he's going to showcase it in very short order. And then you pick up Georgia center Jared Allen, not trading down once, but twice, going all the way to 95 and still getting the guy that if you took him at 77, I don't think people would have had a problem with it. He is someone that can come in, can be that centerpiece of your offensive line for many years to come. He's a raw talent. He's got to develop a little bit, but at the same time, you're looking at someone that could really help to anchor that unit for a number of years. And his work with Duke Manyweather that has really, I think, elevated his game really speaks to the level of prowess that Pat showed last night. So I think all the way around, they had a very, very good day too. I can't wait to see what they have in store for an encore on day 3.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a Patriot show, guys, but I do think one of the biggest stories in the draft right now to this point, and we can talk about this, and then we'll talk about each one of those players that you just mentioned that they took in depth. But Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado, there was conversation about him going in the top 3 at one point. Now we're on to day 3, and he's still kind of without a home. There was a lot of rumors. I want to preface what I'm about to say with, obviously we're not in these rooms. I have no idea, how he came off, and I don't want to go ahead and dump dirt on a kid because at the end of the day, all he's trying to do is become a professional athlete, and that's cool. And he has the ability to obviously do it. I didn't have a ton of faith in him personally, from a talent perspective, to be a franchise quarterback. But I still think he belongs in the league. I'm actually really surprised by this. I feel like there has to be another shoe to drop that we won't hear about until later. But for now, he's still on the board, Steve. Again, going into round 4. I mean, that's a precipitous drop. I mean, that's not. I mean, this isn't like going from like top 5 conversation to like in the 20s. But it seemed like after the Steelers passed on him at 21 overall in the first round, he's been in just an absolute, Tom Cruise Halo drop free fall for a while now. Any thoughts on that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, look, I heard a lot of chatter last night, and I think, and I agree with Todd there. I'm pretty bullish on this team right now. But,
Sorry, I'm just sharing some comments as we go.
Yeah, it could be. But I think the reason for him falling has nothing to do with football at this point.
I think it's. Yeah. Don't you feel like it has to have been something like there was a report out that he was just bombing these interviews in the pre-draft process with teams and these visits. Don't you think it has to be something like that?
Well, it has to be a combination of a couple of things, but none of them have to do with football at this point because, when I saw Gabriel picked,
I felt the same way, Steve. That's a great point. I felt the exact same way. I was like,
okay, you might be able to sell me on some of these other guys, but I mean, come on. Once Gabriel went, but one of the guys on NFL Network, and I can't remember which one of them said that, but they did make an interesting comment. Okay, if he's falling this far, you're basically drafting him as a backup, at least for this year. All right. And if he is going to be a backup, now teams are like, okay, and Bill Belichick would nip this in the bud, but your head coach doesn't want every camera and microphone in the face of a rookie backup quarterback, instead of the proverbial starter. And that could very well be part of the reason right now. But if a good head coach can nip that in the bud, I know Belichick would. That wouldn't faze him in the least to do that. But that's just my 2 cents.
No, I'm totally with you. Mike, any thoughts on that before we head into Patriots selections?
No, I think, Steven, you hit the nail right on the head when it comes to Shedeur. I mean, look, you can't make an argument that he is not one of the 100 best players in this draft. Shedeur Sanders is an awfully talented quarterback. Are there methods and aspects of his game that need improvement in order for him to step into the role he believes he's capable of filling in the NFL? Absolutely. No one's questioning that. But I sat here yesterday and said that, yeah, maybe it is more about football than anybody is starting to believe. You have to believe that there are other factors in play here now. I mean, it's obvious. So when you look at where he may land today, I think that's going to be very interesting. What team is going to want to take that on? And Steve, I'm so glad that you mentioned that factor about the distraction of having all of the attention, the media attention in training camp focused on a backup quarterback. That is definitely something that teams want to avoid. And maybe the only coach that could handle that type of a distraction is coaching down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina in the NCAA right now. So right now, I don't see anyone, jumping and chomping at the bit to be able to add him. I think it's going to take a team with a lot of courage and a team with a very established head coach and culture in order to be able to absorb it. And let's face it, it's difficult for a lot of teams, and it's mostly difficult on Shedeur because this has to be a very difficult thing for him. And again, he's trying his best to do what he wants to do, and that's play football for a living. Let's hope that cooler heads prevail today. He ends up in a place that's going to be able to nurture his skill set and things move forward without a hitch. But this is definitely one of the more surprising things I've seen in recent draft history.
Do you think, Mike, that there's any, I guess we're crossing sports a bit here, but do you think there's any kind of like LeVar Ball kind of feel with Deion in terms of like teams are worried that there's going to be like too much on, like it's kind of combining exactly what you both said.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wonder if people are worried about Deion's presence for whatever reason and adding any extra kind of circus to the show. If that makes sense.
I do think there's an element of that. And look, whether it's warranted or whether it's not is probably a conversation for another day. But at the same time, I think teams are a little bit squeamish about a sideshow type of attraction that's being brought into their team when they're trying to build the best 53 men they can to lead everyone onto the gridiron and into battle each and every Sunday. Look, the best time of year for an NFL fan is exactly where we are right now on draft day, because everyone's got a shot. Everyone has a chance. When you put a team together, they have an opportunity to turn water into wine, and they have an opportunity to contend. Teams want to be very careful about the type of team that they're building, and sometimes it's more about the outside than it is about the inside for teams that are on the cusp of really making that leap. So, I mean, Deion is an alpha personality. There's no question about it. I think people will, have to concede. I think anyone would concede that he has an excellent football mind. He's a great motivator, and that I do believe with every breath in my body that he wants what's best for his son, for his children, for his family, as he should, as any good father would. And again, I think it's just going to take the right team and the right culture that's going to be able to absorb all of that. I do believe that will be found on day 3. I don't think he goes undrafted. I'd be really, really surprised if he did. But again, I think we've laid the foundation this morning for something like that happening. So
there's something that smells, that they're behind the scenes. I don't know what it is. I'm not dumping dirt on the kid. I'm not doing anything. Just because I didn't think he was a top 5, kind of franchise quarterback doesn't mean I think that I can expect to sit here that he's going to go, like you said, outside of the top 100. I mean, that is there's something that's going on that we don't know about, and I'm sure it will come to light at some point soon. But guys, let's get right into the Patriots picks here, because that's what people are tuning in for. And right now we have, a couple hundred people, tuning in. So thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Patriots No Huddle, and hope that you kind of join us from there. TreVeyon Henderson, Ohio State running back, pick number 38 overall. Just to kind of set the table with him, Steve, again, we've been talking about him for a while now. Seems like he's tailor-made for the Josh McDaniels offense. He brings some explosiveness. I love his pass-catching ability. I think that as a complement to Ramondre Stevenson, I think it's also beneficial. I think to have that little outlet for Drake Maye, also good. Give me your thoughts on TreVeyon Henderson.
Well, and you and I have been talking about this. You were the one that turned me on to this idea of taking him in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
And this went back as far as maybe February. We started talking about this.
Yeah, probably. Yep.
Yep. And it was right after the Super Bowl. You were talking about having, a running back, and you mentioned him by name. And then the more I looked into it, the more you sold me on it. And I love this pick. I thought this was a great pick because they could have went in several different directions on this. But, you're looking at a guy who's, like you said, Josh McDaniels is going to find a way to get this guy, involved in the passing game. I mean, and he's a great running back too. I mean, he had 31 runs over 10 yards. So, but you talk about a guy that's explosive. He brings that speed element. He's a tremendous pass blocker as well. So if you put him in there, one of the things the Patriots always used to do, and it goes back, guys like Kevin Falk, Shane Vereen, Danny Woodhead, James White, they always kind of got that red shirt first year because they were worried about their pass blocking. Well, this guy's already an outstanding pass blocker. So I think he'll get play right off the bat. And, now they have a nice three-headed monster in there. Mm-hmm. And I just thought this was another Drake Maye kind of pick, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I'm not, this is going to sound like I'm tooting my own horn. I'm really not. I implore any Patriots fan to just look at TreVeyon Henderson highlights and just tell me it doesn't look like it perfectly fits in the Josh McDaniels offense. And the moment I saw him, and I said this just to reiterate it a couple months ago, is I literally was like, yeah, I think 38's in play. I really do. Both him and his teammate, both really good players, championship team. And again, the explosiveness, I think to a compliment to Stevenson, I think it's perfect. Mike, what were your thoughts on Henderson?
Yeah, I think you guys have hit the nail on the head. And look, Derek, if you're not going to toot your own horn, I'll do it for you. You absolutely had GM insight in this one. And I say that backed up by
even a blind squirrel, Mike, finds an acorn.
Yeah, the sun shines on a dog's behind every day, right? At some point. No, I'm kidding. I absolutely am kidding, folks. But no, bottom line, and I say that backed up by our conversation with Eliot Wolf last night to wrap up the night. He said that there were several teams that had inquired about the value at 38, and the Patriots had a chance to move out of it. They did not want to take the chance of moving down even just a couple of ticks and missing out on TreVeyon Henderson. This is someone obviously that they targeted that really is going to be a great fit in a Josh McDaniels offense. And you're right, for all the reasons you anticipated. The speed, the acceleration. Once he breaks free, he's off to the races. He's an adept pass catcher. He can catch the ball out of the backfield on third down. One of the better pass blockers, like you said, Steve, in the class at the running back position. All the things that the Patriots value most in a running back, is exactly what they're getting in TreVeyon Henderson. And they're getting someone that's coming in and understands the culture of New England. We had a chance to ask him about that on the conference call last night to introduce him to the Pats media. And the one thing that he kept saying over and over again is, you know what they're competing for up there in New England. They want to win a Super Bowl. And for a casual fan that may have just been turned on to the Patriots, that hasn't happened in a few years. It's been at least about 5 years since the Patriots have been legitimate contenders for a Super Bowl, but yet that culture still permeates through his head. He understands what he's coming up here to help the Patriots do under Mike Vrabel. So the Ohio State connection, I'm sure, that played a part in this, but standalone, the Pats got a great compliment to Ramondre Stevenson. He'll be a solid third down option. Don't want to hear anything about lack of size or anything like that. This kid has all the intangibles, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do in a Patriots uniform.
Yeah, and don't you think, though, too, that obviously the Patriots said, Mike, that I shouldn't say said, they showed with their actions in the third round that they were not afraid to trade down. So from them receiving calls and wanting to stick there, it shows the conviction they have in the player itself.
Right. Absolutely.
So to me, that's huge. I mean, we all know they don't need more picks. They need, contributing players. And I felt like they came away with that, last night, which is, again, an exciting thing, because they're building a thing here. And you can see the creativeness with McDaniels and Henderson. I think that's going to be a fun combo. Let's get into Kyle Williams next, guys. Steve, Kyle Williams, not someone that we talked about a whole lot. Wasn't necessarily off my radar. I've obviously done a lot more, watching and researching about him now. But kind of similar to Henderson, start-stop ability, really good. Showed out at the Senior Bowl. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on Kyle Williams.
Yeah, I mean, it was between him and the kid from Iowa State that I was kind of like
Jalen Knowles, who I kind of wanted. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'd be happy with either one, but the one thing that I really like about Williams is he gets separation instantly off the line of scrimmage. And I think he's the best separator, if that's a real word, in the class. When they made the pick last night, I was going back to some of the stuff that people said about him. And Mel Kiper, I thought, summed it up perfectly. He's fast. I'll tell you what, versatile. He's not a guy who's a one-trick pony. He's not just a deep threat. He'll do the dirty work. He'll block. He'll go in traffic, make tough catches. I love Kyle Williams, one of the most underrated receivers in the draft. And, the one thing that I really like about this pick is you look at the three wide receivers that they've now added to the roster since free agency, right? They got Williams, who's an ex, wide receiver that has a ton of speed. And then, you got your crafty route runner who always seems to get open in Stephon Diggs. And then you have a big red zone target in Mac Hollins. And you can see what they're doing here. They're building their wide receiver room for Drake Maye. And so far, I mean, are they the best in the NFL? No. But they're a heck of a lot better than they were 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, no, I totally with you on that. Williams, to me, Mike, again, it comes back to the explosiveness and they're adding more speed to the offense, which I think is necessary. Look, you don't have to be the Kansas City Chiefs per se, but you still need to add something with a little bit of a splash. And I thought that Williams gives them that kind of a little bit explosiveness in the room that they really don't have. I mean, and one of my favorite things about him when I was kind of going through stuff, I guess for me, it's when I see a receiver run across the middle of the field, and he just plays with no fear, because you really can't have fear in the middle of the defense is where you can get punished. Okay, so if I'm seeing a guy play with no fear in the middle of the field, I know that he's mentally locked in. That's what I got from Williams. Mike? What was your take from him?
Yeah, without any question. I think that's exactly why you're seeing Kyle Williams in a Patriots uniform as we speak, as opposed to someone like a Jalen Noel, who we talked about yesterday here on the pod. A guy that has positional versatility, can play on the outside, can play in the slot, maybe someone with a little bit surer hands than Kyle Williams. But, Steve, I think you hit the nail right on the head when you said Kyle separates faster than anyone else that was available at the time, maybe more faster than anyone else in this draft class. And that's, I think, what the Patriots were looking for. The key stat that I align with when it comes to Kyle Williams, and I want to give a tip of the cap to Mike Reese of ESPN, who's the one that actually pulled this stat for us all last night. 14 catches on passes thrown, 20-plus yards downfield last season. That, to me, explains everything that you need to know about what this kid's role is going to be playing alongside Drake Maye. And that, to me, is, I think, the reason why you're seeing Kyle Williams here. We've talked about ad nauseum his start and stop step, making defenders miss. Once he finds a free lane, he's going to be able to blaze down the field. And he also has positional versatility. He can play on the perimeter, but he can also align in the slot. That positional versatility is going to endear him to Josh McDaniels. This was a great pick for the Pats, maybe a little bit more of a project, but I think so much more of an upside than people are talking about. You hit the nail on the head, Steve, once again. This is an underrated wide receiver in this draft class, and I think he's going to prove that in short order.
I mean, I'm not Mel Kiper or Todd McShay or somebody like that, but I consider myself pretty well, in depth with the draft each year, and I feel like he was underrated by me too. And I do think that there is some really good characteristics out, and there's some questions now about the receiver room. And Todd, who's always on the ball, is chiming in, says, "Who's out, Booty?" And I think that probably right now he's on the outside looking in. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I think nobody's out per se right now.
Right,
I think
of course. I'm not saying this minute. I'm saying going in the training camp.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of spots are going to be open for competition, and that's a really good thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, we look at Booty. He really came on, but he could be the odd man out. With the Josh McDaniels offense, or it could be somebody like Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, maybe even Kendrick Bourne. It's all.
I do not think Kendrick Bourne is safe on this roster. I've been saying it for a while now. I just don't. I don't necessarily see it.
It's all going to come down to production during training camp. So, I'm looking forward to this in a big, big way.
And for what it's worth, Bourne did have a terrific season with McDaniels when they were together. Mm-hmm. Maybe it works out. I'm just looking at it, and I'm just looking at the depth chart, and there's a scene from The Dark Knight Rises, with Heath Ledger as the Joker, where he snaps a pool cue in half and he hands it to two guys and says that they're having tryouts. I feel like that's going to be Mike Vrabel's training camp. Very similar. So it's that's just me.
See, Mike, you're rubbing off with the movie stuff.
I know.
I love it.
It's a Mike. Great. I saw Mike. Mike was friggin' grinning like a cat over there. With
the Cheshire Cat. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, I mean, no question about it. I'm bringing my useless knowledge. The Patriots know Huddle. You gotta love that, folks.
Oh yeah, tons of useless knowledge. We are. If you want a show that's going to give you useless knowledge, you have found the place. Patriots Know Huddle. Be sure to like and subscribe. Getting into the next pick, Mike, I'll go back to you. Tell me about it.
Well, Jared Wilson getting to 95 and still the Patriots having an opportunity to get him, I think may have been one of the steals of the night. Look, Wilson, there's no question about it, is still a player that needs work. He's got 1 year starting at the position. He's still a project when it comes to the center position, but his athleticism, I think, is undeniable. He ran a 4.84, in the scouting combine, and that really, I think, put him on the map in terms of the type of athleticism that you can still have and be a solid center in this league. Positional size, I think he's adequate. I wouldn't say over the top, but I wouldn't say undersized either. 6'3", 310 pounds. He's compact. He's going to be tough to move. And that's what you want in a center position. But I think the other thing to think about here, too, is that he's been working a lot, trying to craft his, trying to hone in his craft, trying to bring in, a lot of, pro level skill set to what he does out there on the field. I think with the right tutelage, maybe learning from Garrett Bradbury this year, working with Doug Marrone, I think the sky could be the limit, and you may be looking at the Patriots' future center. Maybe not this season, but maybe in another season or so. I think you're going to see him starting games under center for the New England Patriots. This was a pick that I would have made at 77 and not batted an eyelash. To get it at 95, tip of the cap to Eliot Wolf and his team over there. They really played the board well last night when it came to this pick.
I 100% agree. I think that he's someone who comes in with a pedigree, comes from a really great program. Let's not pretend too that he hasn't been going against absolute animals in that Georgia front seven over the last couple of years. So he's seasoned, which we know. We've seen Georgia. I mean, honestly, Georgia and Alabama. I mean, a lot of those teams in the SEC. I mean, you're talking about basically one of the biggest bloodlines for the entire league. Not just the Patriots alone, but he's been battle tested. It's a guy when Bradbury. To me, Bradbury always felt kind of like a stopgap in terms of maybe it's 1 year, maybe it's 2 years he plays, but then you go ahead and can insert Wilson and you have your next man up mentality, but they were able to go ahead and get a veteran trusted center now for the immediate returns until he's ready to go. And Doug Marrone can get his hands on him and go ahead and work with him from there. But really excited about the prospects. As you said, Mike, loved the pick at 95. They were able to come away with 4 players in the top 100. And I think this team needed that. And, we'll see about Kyle Williams, how immediate. I think Henderson has the best chance to see the field first, just given his skill, his position and the skill set. I think that Williams will have an opportunity to get on the field as well. But I think that Wilson is going to be a guy that probably you don't see, at least in his rookie year. It's kind of more of a redshirt year I could see, but I do think it's a great pick at that spot. Steve, what are your thoughts on Jared Wilson at 95?
Yeah, I thought, last night, Eliot Wolf's comments about him were really good because he said, hey, he has guard center versatility. So, maybe this year they get him worked in a little bit at guard just to get his feet wet in the NFL. And, Garrett Bradbury's contract, it's basically the only guaranteed money is $3.8 million. So if they were to cut bait with him at the end of this season, there wouldn't be
even if they cut bait with him in training camp, I wouldn't be overly shocked. It would be surprising. Right. That would mean that Wilson really stepped up. But I mean, it's not like $3.8 million is a lot of money, obviously for everyone else. Right. But in terms of NFL money, it's not that much. I mean, it's really kind of peanuts.
Yeah, it's something they could eat if need be.
Of course.
But at the same time, he did have an off year last year, although he's been a starter for a very long time in the NFL. He had a down year, and hopefully things work out where he's back on top of his game. And, and then this way here, Jared Wilson is able to, learn under Bradbury and, hone his game to the level that they want him at. I think the sky is the limit for this kid as well. And like Mike said, a great point, Mike, I was thinking in terms of a interior offensive lineman at 77. And if they had taken him at that point, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I would have thought, hey, good, solid move right here. And the fact that they were able to pick up 2 extra draft picks and still draft him was a really good move.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, and our good mutual friend Thomas Murphy has been beating the drum about Jared Wilson for about a couple of months now, going back to our days doing the.
Don't you just hate when the worst person goes ahead and makes a great point? I mean, geez, Murph.
You are not going to get me to agree to that. No,
I
no
love you. I love
way
you.
am I going to
I
agree
love
to
Murph.
that.
He knows that.
That is my tag team partner, guys. But no, all kidding aside, when we would do mock draft Monday, and Murph would see these mock drafts come in, he would look at it and say, "Yeah, Wilson is the guy that I would look at in this area." And look, there's a lot of reasons why. You guys have mentioned them all. I don't want to mitigate the fact that Wilson has worked and is continuing to work with Duke Manyweather, who absolutely has done wonders for a lot of interior linemen, especially even along the edge.
Terrific coach.
But Duke is absolutely a great offensive line guru and a great coach, a great mentor, and he had a lot of glowing things to say about Jared. Praised his athleticism, says that there's many things that he can do that other centers can't do. He really compared his style of play to Eric McCoy, and I think that's a very good comparison if you're looking for a ceiling on this kid or someone to compare him to at an NFL level. I think that is a very apt comparison. So if he continues to hone in his craft, the sky is the limit for Jared Wilson. This is an excellent pick, in my opinion, at number 95.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think it is a possibility again that he can get on the field. That he can get on the field, and Bradbury's no lock. I also am very happy with the fact that they seem to have shored up, at least the future center spot. I think Wilson will be that guy, and I think we're all happy with these picks that we're talking about. To me, Henderson, I feel like is absolutely going to be in some kind of running back by committee in this league. Williams, I think, has a lot of amazing explosive traits and athleticism, but I don't think he's any kind of lock. And I want to get to something that Chris asked here in a second to both of you. And I think Wilson, again, the Patriots are really at a weird spot at anything on the IOL, anything interior. There's just so many questions on. I mean, it seems like they are good at having him when you back at his natural right guard position, but they've been playing with him. Center's been a question mark. We all, the David Andrews saga. We got Bradbury now. Then we draft Wilson in the top 100. Left guard, absolute mess. There's like 5 guys that could start at left guard, and it wouldn't really surprise me. So that whole thing is kind of weird. But I do want to circle back to something because I thought Chris asked a good question, as he always does. Chris, thanks again for tuning in and listening. He says, how many receivers make the 53? Steve, I'm leaning 6 right now. Seems heavy, but I'm leaning 6 right now. What do you think?
Oh, that's what my answer was all along. 6, I think, make the roster.
So you got Diggs. So we got Diggs. Polk is not going anywhere. Bourne, I'd still put in there. Kyle Williams is not going anywhere. Drafted in the top 100 here as well. And then, would you say Booty and Douglas?
No, Hollins. I mean, they just signed.
Oh, and then Hollins too. Oh, geez. Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, I mean that's tough. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a very tough situation right now because you're stockpiling talent, and every guy fills a niche in terms of what they're able to do. If you want to talk about maybe similar skill set, I don't know if this puts Baker on the outside looking in. From what I'm hearing from the internal, sources that I've spoken with close to the team, Vrabel and the Patriots offensive brain trust are very taken with Javon Baker and his prowess and his capabilities and perhaps his potential in this type of an offense. Does that mean that Jalen Polk may be on the outside looking in? I still don't see that because of the draft capital they invested last year. It's a second.
I think he has
pick.
1 more year. I think he has 1 more year
I
to
think
swim.
so as well. And I think he really has 1 year to kind of, like you said, before Derek, should have get off the pot. He needs to be able to do that and show that he can be a big time receiver in this league. Obviously, Jaquay Jackson probably on the outside looking in. I don't think people are going to be surprised by that. Matt Collins coming in. Some Patriots fans are saying, well, that's probably just a throwaway signing. He'll end up out on the street. Do not be so sure of that, folks. I've watched Matt Collins and scouted him very closely last year as a member of the Buffalo Bills. This is a professional football player that does whatever you need him to do, and he does it at a high level. I don't think he's going anywhere on this roster. So, yeah, there's a lot right now, a lot of moving pieces for the Pats at receiver. You're talking about a position that was considered barren not more than just a couple of months ago. Now they have a wealth of talent. It's going to be all about putting it together. They've got the right guy at the helm of this offense in Josh McDaniels to be able to evaluate talent. Let Josh cook, let him do his thing. And I think the New England Patriots will have a solid core heading forward.
So
might be some Foxborough flu coming up in September.
A little bit.
Could be. So if we're talking about locks, guys, Diggs is a lock.
Mm-hmm.
Hollins is a lock. Obviously, Kyle Williams now is a lock. I still would put Pop in there too. And again, then we go to Polk, and then it's like to me, it might be Booty on the outside looking in, just given the numbers game, but it's hard too because Eliot Wolf obviously is the consistent, but it is a new coach, and a different style from, we're talking about all different positional coaches, new head coach. I just can't see them getting rid of a pick that was, wasn't Polk like 38 last year as well, as I think. So I don't know. I just have a hard time thinking that you're just going to cut bait on that. I know he had a bad year. I know what I watched him, at Washington, what the kind of player he was. I just think he needs to get that confidence back up. And I think that Vrabel will be the guy that sparks that fire.
And I have seen some stuff. Well, training camp will be very important for Polk. Well, last year at training camp, he blew everybody away.
Yep.
He was outstanding. In training camp.
Yeah. He had people believing in that media tent that he was going to be the guy to lead this wide receiver core in 2024, and it didn't work out that way. But he will have to come out and have a good training camp. That is absolutely paramount because the competition level is that much higher this year. So it's going to be incumbent upon these guys to look at the players around them and who's going to rise to the challenge. That, I think, is who's going to end up sticking. There are a lot of guys on this team that can. Let's see who actually goes out there and does it.
Yeah, you might have 3 or 4 guys fighting for one spot.
Thanks, Chris. Nice. Appreciate that.
Tip of the cap, Chris. Thank you.
So Todd has a question. Todd, what's up, man? Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for listening. So was Wolf safe now? I've been saying this for a while. We'll find out for sure after the draft,
right? Because
that's usually when the front office contracts are up, which is right after the draft. To me, if ownership, meaning the Crafts, didn't like Eliot Wolf or Grow, they would have been gone before the Vrabel hire, and he would have just, But to me, it doesn't really change my opinion. Vrabel's still the guy. He's the one making the decision. Wolf is just a part of this, and it was even backed by that, bringing in Ryan Cowden, bringing in, I forget his first name, but it's Stretch. The 2 guys that he brought from Tennessee, that is Stretch is basically his Ernie Adams, and Cowden is basically now the second-hand man in the front office. But it's still Vrabel's show to me. It feels like Wolf is safe, though. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, I'm going to make Steve laugh here. You want to talk about hierarchy? I'll take a little page out of the Corleone family. Right now, Mike Vrabel is Michael Corleone. He is the guy that's making all of the decisions. Eliot Wolf is probably right now a top-level capo-regime, and he's still up there, but he's not the one making the final call. Like you said, Ryan Cowden coming in, he's the consigliere. He's coming in and he's giving his 2 cents to Mike Vrabel. He's in his ear every few moments. They've got this type of structure that I think is going to work very well for the New England Patriots. And Wolf is going to be a part of that. I was on the fence about this for quite some time. Anyone who listened to me on my previous show and knows that, my feelings on Eliot Wolf have fluctuated from moment to moment, depending on the types of moves that are made. But if he has a solid day 3, or the Patriots have a solid day 3, I really have a difficult time pallating the fact that Robert Kraft or the Patriots Brain Trust would cut bait with him unless there's a given PR reason that I'm not seeing right now. We'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens. But yeah, I'd say his job is a little more secure now after these first couple of days of the draft than I would have told you maybe last week.
Yeah, he's doing a good job this year. I mean, I have no issues with the way he handled free agency or the draft up to this point. But who's a better one-time consigliere than my father? So you're out, Tom.
Absolutely. You're not a what-time consigliere, Tom.
Yeah,
Things
because
might get rough with a move
Ryan might be the guy, and we've seen, like Derek said, we've seen this happen before where, because guys have put so much into the draft that they allow them to do this. But, judging from the job he's done this spring, it wouldn't give any team pause to hire him if he is let go now.
Right.
Guys, I want to finish off the show with what we're kind of thinking for day 3 here. A lot of good players still available. I've always been kind of intrigued with Gunnar Helm, the tight end from Texas. I feel like he would fit. Excuse me. I feel like he would fit into the McDaniels offense. Jalen Royals, I like. I just don't see them adding another receiver again. I do think quarterback is in play. I don't think it's crazy if they were to add a quarterback, here just to kind of add to the mix. But again, running backs, it's hard to see another one, but I love Cam Scatterbo. I love Devin Neal, both really good players. I still think Will Howard could potentially be the pick here on probably, what do they have? They have 5 picks today, I want to say.
6. They picked
6?
up an additional yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So I think they're going to throw a couple things at the chessboard, but one thing I wanted to mention, and Chris writes in and says a certain Claire Cooper was moody, but there's no tight end drafted by the Patriots. I think, guys, that's happening today. I think they're going to add a quarterback.
Yep.
I think they're adding a tight end, and then I think I could see them going after maybe some edge players or a defensive lineman. That's kind of the range I'm looking at. Andrew Makuba was one of my favorite prospects from a safety position, who went very high. Well, so great for him. I thought free safety could be in the mix. I could see them maybe throwing something there at the board. They added a lot at safety. It's hard to honestly know what they really like there. So again, I think the 3 positions I would say are pretty much locks today is defensive, some kind of interior defensive lineman, a quarterback, and tight end. I think those 3 are pretty much locks. Mike, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely.
When it comes to Helm, I'm waiting for it. I saw you smiling.
It's coming.
When it comes to, absolutely. I mean, I think you're right on the money when it comes to the targets. I do think they're going to go defense first. I think the Patriots come out of the gate looking at a defensive player. The guy I'm looking at right now has an Ohio State linebacker. He's someone that comes in with a little bit of a no grit attitude, and I like that in a defender, and that's Jack Sawyer. Keep an eye on him because that Ohio State connection
seems like another Mike Vrabel guy.
Exactly. Yep, I know. You're going to put a Mike Vrabel clone right on him, and I think that could be a target for the New England Patriots. So if that happens, it wouldn't shock me. Gunnar Helm is someone I've had my eye on for quite some time. And guys, the reason why I want Gunnar Helm here in New England. I want to bring back my GIF file every single week, and I want to say who made that man a gunner every time this guy makes a reception. Now, all kidding aside, there's a lot to like about Gunnar Helm. I like the fact that this kid is not necessarily the breakaway speed guy that you want, but he'll win battles on the football field. He's great in those intermediate slot areas where he can sit down. He's very good in soft zone. I've heard him compared to Hunter Henry a little bit. I think that is an apt comparison. To me, he reminds me a little bit more of Dawson Knox because of his ability to sit down in the soft zone and make plays there. So if this kid can really, round into form, Dalton Schultz is, I think, the other one that comes to mind a little bit.
That's the guy that he reminds me of too.
Yeah, these guys are so good in soft zones that it really helps, to see them leap off the page. And again, I think he could be an option. But yeah, the Patriots will definitely look, I think, to make some upgrades on defense. But I still see tight end in play, and I think they will look at a quarterback. And do not be a bit surprised, folks, if the Patriots kick the tires on a potential kicker of the future here in New England.
Oh yeah, it's happening.
I think there definitely is a good chance in the later rounds that you see that happen. At the very least, I think they'll come in as an undrafted free agent, but don't be a bit surprised if a name of a kicker is called before all is said and done today.
I mean, I think Vrabel flat out said they were taking a kicker at some point late in the draft. So I think that I should have absolutely mentioned that. So Steve, I guess just to kind of circle back to you, defensive tackle, tight end, maybe a quarterback, kicker.
Well, they picked fairly early, today, and it wouldn't shock me if, like Mike was just saying, they go after that Ohio State linebacker, which I was watching him last night because I'm like, I wonder if they would go to him in the third round. But him or Gunnar Helm, if they would take either one of those guys, I think would be a great start of the day. Yeah, I could see another defensive lineman, possibly another linebacker. Even if it isn't Sawyer, but I think tight end's definitely in play today. Yeah, we can't have Claire, disappointed out there. So
no, the Countess cannot be displeased. What to do, John? What would we do?
They did have Trevor Etienne in for a visit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them double dipping at running back. I mean, I can't totally rule it out, but I think that might have been if they wanted to, if Henderson wasn't there and they wanted to go a different direction for whatever reason, and maybe they get Etienne later. So maybe that's it. Aside from Sawyer, the one player I want to mention as well is Jeffrey Bassett, the linebacker from Oregon. Also, again, these picks sound repetitive kind of because we're all saying the same thing, but a guy that plays with an attitude and an edge, it's violent and can run around. Short linebacker, relatively small, 6'1", 230. That's kind of the style that Vrabel likes. If they don't get Sawyer, I could see Jeffrey Bassett. I just wanted to throw that name in because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. I thought he reminded me of a guy that I thought that he would like. So, gentlemen, great show. We will do it again tomorrow to recap day 3 and kind of get into it. We've had a ton of live listeners, excuse me, some great comments. And apparently I need to go get a lozenge because I'm losing my voice. So, but I want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of Patriots No Huddle. So happy to have all 3 of us on here and talk today. Please do subscribe to us on our Patriots No Huddle YouTube channel. And if you could go ahead and like, share, leave us a review, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it would keep us high on those rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Thank you for everyone who commented in, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Talk to you then.